All stations, all stations, all stations. This is a combat-based PSA. We have a schedule change. Starting the month of June, we will be producing a show once every other week instead of every single week. We are not going anywhere. The show schedule is just changing, and we are putting out a show every other week instead of every week for the time being. We may pick up production in the fall. We want to thank you for your support and appreciate your understanding. Let us know if you need anything. Please hit the hotline. Please hit the hotline. Please send a text message. Please send an email. Combat-based PSA over and out.
Still?
Even when he's not.
We're
That's
back.
where you gotta fake it till you make it.
Well, we're back for another show. Yay! Do you want to hit the intros?
Intros? What do
Yeah,
you mean?
just
You want me
get
to
crazy.
say, hey, who's here today? Who's here today? Well, we got Shia, the Doberman
Shia.
Pinscher.
Okay.
Sadie, the
Okay.
5-year-old mutt.
Okay.
And we have Tobin, the producer. Woo woo. Me, I'm Melissa, the CEO and official podcast ruiner. And we have Chris Haueter, the ultimate master of
Nothing.
the diatribe.
The diatribe. Sick. Nice. Well, thank you, Melissa, for that wonderful introduction.
Yeah, of course.
And-
Anytime, I'm happy to do it.
Now we blast off on our episode today. So I want a bit for my jiu-jitsu. I've always been hearing about South Bay Jiu Jitsu, and as far as I know, South Bay Jiu Jitsu is the OG American jiu-jitsu joint. Is that true?
I mean, yes, I would say, like, you could say it was certainly among one of the first couple of physical location schools that was not run by a Brazilian black belt. It was Bob Bass started it back when he opened it. Like, I remember thinking, just because a guy who grew up in the South Bay, I was thinking, damn, you got that name before I did, because what a cool name, right? And yeah, Bob Bass started South Bay Jiu Jitsu. God, when he started it, I want to say just as I was getting my black belt or just before. And yeah, it was very cool.
So he, if I remember correctly, he got his black belt like in the 95 or something like that.
95. He got his black belt a solid year before I did, no matter what.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he got his black belt in 95-ish. And then when did he kick that school off? Do you remember?
God, it was pretty soon after his black belt. Yeah, it was pretty soon after. Like, he had the brown belt match with Mauricio Fitosa, beat him. Then Bob got his black belt, and then within a couple months, he opened up that school.
And what was the general vibe around it when he opened it? Because I feel like my general understanding of jiu-jitsu at that time is the Brazilians kind of had it on lockdown and were trying to hold it down. And then an American dude kicks off a school.
There was certainly, just from, I mean, not to make a podcast controversial, but several of the Machados were certainly not happy that he was opening up a school, from their perspective, right down the street. Like that was definitely a thing. Bob's perspective was, I grew up in the South Bay. This is my turf, and I want to have a school, and this is where I want to have it. And I have a friend of mine who owns the building and will lease me the spot, so I could see, like most things, I do my best to try to see both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he definitely had a side, but I could also see how the Machados felt like, dude, why don't you go someplace else? We're here. But then I could see how Bob would say, I've been here my whole life. You came, so it's kind of one of those, yeah.
I see. So the general vibe wasn't like, let's have a Machado seminar every weekend at this location. It was a little
No, it was Bob opening up his own place. And South Bay peeps, like, there's a certain skater, punk rocker, ethos with South Bay people. Not that Bob was ever a punker or even a skater, but he was definitely a South Bay local. Growing up, going to South Bay house parties, bands playing in the backyard, like the Bass Brothers were there, right? He was South Bay hardcore, although him personally wasn't hardcore. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, it was like I always say, like, had I gotten my black belt before Bob, maybe I would have opened up South Bay with Jiu Jitsu just because it's a cool name. And like I did some logo work for him at one point in time just because it's so cool. I've taught at that school on and off 2 or 3 times. In the early days, it was definitely, it was a lot more territorial where you couldn't train at multiple locations. Like when I was a blue belt and I trained at Horion's Academy for a while. At the same time, I'm in Hegan's garage. Like that was like, Hegan didn't really care, but Horion sure did. And yeah, what else was I gonna say about that period of time? I consider that to be kind of like what I call the second wave of jiu-jitsu sudden popularity. The first wave is post UFC. That was the wave where MMA was coming into its own. Jiu-jitsu schools were starting to specify more in sport and art and less in MMA. And then Boxing Works, which was right next to South Bay Jiu-Jitsu, started to have MMA classes there. And that kind of pissed off Bob because now MMA is kind of like adding Jiu-Jitsu. And, oh, that's true. Before Bob opened that school, I had a Jiu-Jitsu class there. I taught
Boxing Works.
At Boxing Works, which meant like Bob's opening up a jiu-jitsu school right next door. I forgot all about that. That basically meant my class there is over. And I was like, there was a guy, I'll always remember this, a guy who I taught privates to. He was a fairly prominent Hollywood guy on the back end, not in front of the camera, behind the camera guy. And he was in charge of a lot of stuff in Hollywood. He was fairly demanding, and when he wanted a private, he wanted a private. Like it's like, hey, I've got 3 hours. Can you do a private? Most of the time I could. Sometimes I couldn't. And he was directly under Hoist, a blue belt under Hoist, but he would do privates with me. And he would say, because he likes my privates better. And I'm not saying I'm better than Hoist in any way, but it was when I first realized it's like I'm teaching him with jiu-jitsu, but some other black belt is going to get the credit. And that was kind of a feeling that went around, it still does, that went around a lot in the olden days. It is this like placed importance upon who's giving you the knowledge, and that person should get their props. And it was then when I kind of like, I realized that was kind of dumb in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it's also like you pour your energy and give somebody this jiu-jitsu art, and then they go someplace else and that coach gets the credit. Like that's something that every jiu-jitsu instructor will say, I've experienced that. Mm-hmm. Everyone, right? That burn, almost a feeling of like, you've been burned. And I saw several guys do that to several black belts before. Well, like I've seen, like, I'm not going to say names, but I've seen Hegan pour coaching energy and effort to get guys really good only for them to go off. And yeah, so there was a lot of that back then.
That still happens.
There still happens, yeah.
Was Boxing Works so the spot that South Bay Jiu-Jitsu's at now
was not the spot that it was originally. No. It was originally at a different spot.
Yes.
And that spot was next to where Boxing Works was.
I see.
And Boxing Works, yeah, it was run by Brian Popejoy, who's a great guy, who was one of the early white dudes that went over to Thailand and fought. He was really good. One of the nicest guys in the world. Doesn't look like your typical a pugilist, but lightning fast hard kicks. Like very talented guy. And this is the dawn of MMA. And Muay Thai is a key piece to MMA. Like still is. Like I used to say there's 4 or 5 feeder martial arts which make up MMA. And Muay Thai is one of those. And Boxing Works was a place that did boxing and Muay Thai. But while MMA was now blowing up, then MMA athletes would come in. There were a lot of wrestlers, good college wrestler types, that wanted to learn jiu-jitsu but didn't feel comfortable in the structural hierarchy of jiu-jitsu school and didn't want to wear gi. They just wanted to do MMA.
Did you teach no-gi there at Boxing Works?
I did. I taught gi and no-gi there.
Oh, so you had more than one class.
Yeah, I did.
You had like a program
I
there.
had 2 classes there.
Oh,
Yeah,
2.
yeah. I could have done more, but then Bob opened up.
And then you went over to Bob's and taught there.
Then I taught at Bob's.
But not like super regularly. And of course, I don't know, did you get paid at Boxing Works?
Yeah.
Okay, because he didn't get paid at Bob's.
I
He
got
got a key so he could
Yeah.
use the space when he wanted.
Yeah, Bob, at one point in time, Bob wanted me to partner with him there. And nothing personal against Bob, I just didn't want to be a part. I didn't want to be a martial arts school guy. That's something that I just never really wanted to do, especially back then. So, yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting time. But the South Bay Jiu Jitsu scene, one could say, had a lot of people that were going to Horion's Gracie Jiu Jitsu Academy, handful of guys that went up to Hickson's place in the Palisades, bunch of Machado guys, Bob Bass guys, boxing work, MMA guys. There was a lot of jiu-jitsu in the South Bay very early on.
I see. So those were the main ones. So there was Horion's Garage,
Horion's Academy,
Hickson's place in the Palisades.
Hickson's place in the Palisades.
Machado's.
The Machado,
had a couple different
I
spots.
called it the hole in the wall school because it was this fairly small place with no windows at all, just the door.
I see.
That was the same as Bob's.
Bob's at least had a front window.
It was a fairly small place.
It was fairly small.
It did have a front window, but there were no windows.
No windows
anywhere else.
No cross breeze anywhere.
No cross breeze.
You could open the back door and there'd be kind of a cross breeze. Yeah.
Nice. And then you had Boxing Works, and then Bob's.
And Bob's.
That was it. That was the martial arts
Yep.
going down.
That was pretty
California.
much and a few guys who did garage jiu-jitsu.
stuff.
There's always been an element of garage martial arts even before jiu-jitsu. Like it's like people often say, I don't know if this is true at all or not, but like the best martial arts are found in backyards and garages. Like that was when I was in the Jeet Kune Do scene, you would hear that. Like that's like once it becomes a storefront school where we got to have kids classes or we can't pay rent, it kills the spirit of the thing. Like there's a lot of people that thought that back then. I would say I was sort of one of them. Like the best martial arts are in backyards and garages.
I was talking to a very, very high-level, high-ranking UFC fighter not too long ago, and we were talking about our jiu-jitsu and stuff, and I was telling him that I trained here, and that's exactly what he said. He said, most of my training has been in a garage. And he was like, I think garages are
The garages are
like,
very cool.
through my whole martial arts, most of it's happened in someone's garage, and definitely the important stuff that I've gotten the most out of has come out of a garage.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. And it's not that you can't get super high quality jiu-jitsu or MMA at a physical retail location. Like you absolutely can. But there does seem to be a different spirit in garages and backyards.
It's something about the size. There's a size, like a group of people.
Yeah.
There's something about the size.
The critical
When you have a
mass.
really, really big class with like 50 to 100 students, it's probably not as good.
Well,
yes.
and I think
And constant new people. Yeah.
some of it's like the everybody kind of knowing where everybody stands in the immediate hierarchy of the training group, and then that being so real, this like everybody pecking at each other to try to dominate, and the shame that you kind of get by everybody watching your rounds and all these things. I feel like there's something about that where that gets totally lost in a big,
Like the
huge room.
early Machado school, you have 5 brothers who are all really good, keeping each other good.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the groups of guys where, you know, Bob's a little better than me. Joe Bass and I are pretty even. Some days he does better, some weeks I do it better. So it really does. There's a critical mass of guys that push to create. Like back then, the Machado guys, and I'm not just saying this because I was, for various reasons, were better than Horion Gracie Jiu Jitsu lineup, bow in, all that, right? That like the Machado South Bay guys were the tough guys. Hickson's Palisade group were tough guys, and Horion's was going for the people who have money, because back then the tough guys, they don't have a sense of school loyalty. Most of them are broke. But when you want good guys on the mat who will be there all the time, that kind of guy to build a team is good, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just some practical things about being something that's going to come along with being people with money is you have responsibility.
Yes.
And you're going to be thinking more about your responsibility and caring for yourself.
Yes.
But I feel like if you don't have a lot of money, sometimes you can.
You don't want to get hurt, where garage group guys tend to be more risky, let's just say, a bit more fighty, more competitive in their spirit than do the martial arts school on the corner where the kids class, the little kids go at 3, the bigger kids go at 4:30, then the intro adult class. And it's just, it's structured in a way that the fighter wants to go someplace else.
Yeah. I mean, more and more, even in my own journey, I'm like, not, more thinking like, oh, I need to feel good tomorrow. Whereas like earlier on when I was younger without kids and stuff like that, I did not give a flying. I didn't care if I broke my arm in training. I was like just trying to.
Well, yeah, that's one of the benefits about the garage is maybe there's not new people there, so that attitude is more like new, right?
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to train with new people.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of that thing that I think we all agree on. Like, you can get good by just training to a point, but to get those notches just a little better, take intense training and intense drive. Then you move up that little notch, and kind of like people written papers on it and PhDs and all this and combat sports. Like when you get to like the top 3 to 5 in anything, like people trying to scientifically figure out what is it that puts that guy just that little notch ahead. And I think that is definitely something that will not happen to you in a retail martial arts place. That could happen in garage training.
I don't agree, because I think like AOJ is a retail martial arts place.
Yeah, that's true.
So it depends on the, the level. Atos is a retail martial arts.
That's
Alliance,
true.
Cabrinum is a retail martial arts place. All these retail martial arts places have produced the best like IBJJF level adult world champions.
That's absolutely
and
true.
I don't really know any that have come straight out of a garage.
You're
just saying. So I don't
Yeah.
agree with what you're saying at all. I think that you can absolutely get really, really good in a retail space. It just depends on which one you're going to.
That's true.
I
That's
feel like,
very true. I totally forgot about those ones. I was thinking back in the old days.
Well, yeah, in the new days, or like
Mhm.
even when I was competing and stuff, like that's when it first started happening.
Yes.
When I was a brown belt, Cobrina opened up his place,
And that's why
everybody
we went there.
that was training
Because
at
it
the
was
Machado
competitive.
Academy decided to do a mass
Yes, there was a
exodus,
mass
and they all
exodus.
went and trained at Cobrina.
Yes.
All of them.
All the
And
competitive guys.
all the
did.
all the people who like to compete. Yes, all the
Mhm.
people who like to compete
Yep.
went there, including me.
And that
And-
environment gave you that competition environment.
It gave people the
People
the
that
competition environment, and it was, there weren't a lot of people on the mat who didn't compete. It wasn't
Yeah.
a thing, and they did eventually have kids classes and whatever other stuff, and they had their beginner classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it must be broken up in some kind of way because I just can't really imagine like I don't know, for some reason I've never been, but I feel like just rolling into Atos or AOJ to check it out. I feel like there's got to be
Yeah,
some
you
kind of
can. People
screen.
always do.
I'm sure you can, but there's
You
got to
just
be.
pay a drop-in fee. It's
I'm
like,
just saying, as a
it's
new person
Uh-huh.
rolling in, I feel like there's got to be some kind of screening.
Well, I've heard.
I believe they have probably beginner classes, just like
Yeah.
Cobrina's developed like
I'm
a
sure
beginner
they do.
program.
Yep.
So that's where
Yeah.
if you're a new person, a white belt,
Yeah.
that's where you get put.
Yeah. So they have the different types of training just
Right.
segmented. Yeah.
But it's geared towards filtering into the mainstream
To the main.
because you
gnarly
want to
thing.
be a
Right.
competitor, but you have to learn. Like at Cobrina's, he had these, like, let's just say this guard pass that he always taught, which had like 8 or 10 steps to it, and like you went over that in detail in the beginner class. So if you never went to the beginner class like me, I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't care. I was just there to roll.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if in those situations, if they kind of, it just kind of filters such that like if you enter there not a competitor, not wanting to do that hard grind,
I
but
think
you
it
look at
probably-
all the black belts, they're all these gnarly dudes that have all done all that.
Well,
It's almost like a requisite to get to it, you know, like there
the
is no
Atos
easy
talk team warm up, I couldn't even do at like my age now. Like they're just warm up is intense. Like all the cardio exercising and push ups and break falls, like they're just warm up. I know guys who've gone to it and have been like, I can't even complete the warm up.
Well, yeah, and like that's kind of what happened with me at Tenri Judo. Is like I would be exhausted at the end of the warm up, and
Yeah.
like it kind of just filtered me out, to be honest. Like I
Yeah.
just like don't have the energy to try to keep up with that.
Mhm.
And they'll take anybody in there. Like you can show up. Actually, you know what? They just changed it. But for a long time, you could show up and just be a white belt that wanted to learn judo and show up, and they just throw you in there. And if you can hang, you can hang, and if you can't hang, you can't. And I couldn't hang after having quite a bit of experience, like just like my life and everything. I just showing up at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday, an hour from my house, training to death, and then driving home and getting home at midnight.
Yeah,
wasn't really
that's how
cutting
it
it for
was
me
when I went and trained in Cobrina. It
for
was
a-
like that.
For now, but like
Yeah.
they actually just, I think, recently stopped taking white belts.
Mm.
So you have to be ranked to like start there. Yeah. Which brings me to the thing I've been hearing. So like, it sounds like a pretty gritty environment over there at South Bay Jiu Jitsu when they were starting, and like a tough.
It
kind
was
of
a
environment.
tough group of guys, but again, it was in a different time period for the art of the jiu-jitsu. You know, it was
Like it was late 90s you're talking about?
yeah.
What about the gang fight training? They did gang fights.
Oh, we would, yeah. I mean, there were like, I mean, this was happening at the Machado Academy, and I'm sure it happened in other places where they would do like 3-on-3s and like, which is really dangerous, right? When you got one dude choking on your neck and someone else is holding your arms, and yeah, those were, most of us realized pretty quickly these are a bad idea. And a tag team, that was always fun. You know, if you can get to the person and slap them, that person jumps on that person. Yeah, they were fun. But mostly that's boys doing dumb shit.
Yeah.
Where it's much smarter to have Iron Man rather than group fights.
And did they have like a class structure there similar to what you'd see like when I go take your class at UACTP?
No. I mean, well, I don't know.
I mean, by the time I was there were classes.
Yeah.
Chris taught a class.
I
He
taught
had
a class there.
once or twice a week. I went in 2000, like around 2003.
Mm-hmm.
I he went to class. He was going to train there in the evenings. It was a class.
Yeah.
It was regular class. Went to class where Ryan Grigg taught. He
Yeah.
was a teacher there as well.
Yeah.
Class where Bob taught was
Yeah.
regular class, like warm ups,
Mhm.
Yeah.
instruction,
Mhm.
rolling.
Nice.
I think it's kind of
It
like
wasn't like as like they said. They
there's
taught
no
women's
top-down
class and-
structure. It's just
in
each.
kids class,
yeah.
but it was like there were classes.
Yeah.
It was regular classes. It was a little less organized than like there wasn't a front desk person or something
Yeah.
like that. Maybe they tried to have them, but that was the same at the Machado
Same with
Academy.
Machado's, yeah.
There was never like a
Yeah.
front desk person. Programs would fade in and out.
Yep.
Sometimes you'd show up and someone else was teaching your class.
Yep.
It's just how it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never trained at a place that has like a structure curriculum that they hand you and say, "Oh, you're the instructor. Here's what we teach." Like I've never experienced that once. It was always whichever black belt or whoever was running the mat, they taught a certain way. I might pick up things I really like from them and change. Like I've always just made up my own way through the experience of others. I've never had overarching structure the way like Baja's schools are. Like they
Sure.
email the curriculum that
Yeah.
the schools are going to work on. Not that that's a good idea or a bad idea. I've never experienced that.
Yeah, it kind of ties into the chaos theory that I would
yes.
love to do one of these days as a topic just to go over. But yeah, maybe learning
I like chaos theory a
like
lot.
a little bit of scrambling of the
Mhm.
information can be helpful. How did they get like students in the door back in the day at Bob's? Was there like a concerted effort to advertise the school, or did it just happen?
God, I don't know. I want to say it was much more just word of mouth.
Well, okay, their location was right in the middle of PCH
Yeah.
with a big sign on the window that
South
said
Bay
Jiu
Jiu-Jitsu.
Jitsu and it said women's classes and
Kids'
kids
classes,
classes,
yeah.
which they didn't really have. Okay, it wasn't, but it said this crap on the door.
Yeah.
And people could see it. It was right there
Yeah.
in the middle of PCH, which
Yeah.
is in Hermosa Beach, a very
Yeah.
busy area.
Crossing
right
the
next
street
to
was the worst
bars.
part. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
bars. There was the Picture House
Yep.
and what was the other one called?
That other one
The
across there.
saloon, Hermosa
Yeah,
Saloon and
Hermosa
the Picture
Saloon.
House.
Yeah.
So you got bars. So guys go to bars and
Yeah.
they can see the jiu-jitsu place, and people drive down the street.
Yeah.
Like you don't really like. I'm not going to say that he was killing it because I don't think he was, but there were bodies in there.
There were bodies in there. Yeah. It was a really cool location once you got inside.
Yeah.
But parking was a pain in the
Yes,
butt.
it was very hard to
And
park.
you have to
across.
cross the
PCH.
street where like people are being rude when you're trying to cross the street. You're like, God, I'm gonna get in a fight just crossing the fucking street.
The location that it has now is pretty rad. It's like
I don't even know where
I
it's
haven't
at.
been there yet.
it's like right across from the beach. It's like
Oh, really?
like
In Manhattan or
there's like
Hermosa?
one building in Hermosa. There's like one building in front of it to the sand,
Oh, that's
Oh.
awesome.
and it's kind of
Yeah.
like up high. It's like at a second story. You know, like those
Oh, that's
little
neat.
like shopping centers where there's 2 stories. It's in like the second story.
Oh, I
little
know, I
shopping center.
kind of know where you're talking about. Yeah, I have not been to Bob's new place. Like Bob and I, like the last time I saw Bob was at Keegan's opening movie premiere, and like
Which was recently. It was a
Recently.
couple weeks ago. Keegan's movie
Yeah.
premiered.
where a bunch of us,
Keegan.
Yeah.
But Chris had to leave because there
Well,
wasn't
I'm
enough
supposed
space.
a bunch of us who have not seen each other in ages.
Oh, you've seen him? It was
No,
that Christmas
I
thing.
didn't say him. I said
Oh.
a bunch of us who haven't seen each other in ages were all of a sudden there. Like there were guys that I remember from the old Machado Academy, a bunch of us. Of course, Bob's there. And all of us took a couple pictures, and then I got stuck talking to somebody. And by the time we made it in the theater, all the seats were done. So there was a bunch of us that were still waiting to go in. So at least a third of the entire group there, it was a huge turnout. And so
Yeah, and you were supposed to like be on a list or something.
We're
So
on a
bunch
list to
of
get in.
people
yeah,
who
oh, that's true.
weren't on the list must have showed up
There
because the
must have
list
been.
would have had a cap. And he
That's
wanted me to
true.
go. I'm like, thank God I didn't go because I would
Yeah.
have hated to drive all the way out there and get dressed up.
And
Because you're
not get a
expected to
seat.
dress up for like a movie premiere at, is it called Grauman's, how you say it? Chinese
Yep.
theater
Red
in
carpet
Hollywood with red
place, yeah.
carpet.
Yeah.
And then we would have to go home.
Yeah.
It'd be terrible.
Did you see Kruger there? Michael Kruger from Nickelback?
Kroger? Is it Kruger or Oh yeah, Kruger.
Oh, no, I didn't. But it was a pretty big crowd. I saw all kinds of people that I have not seen in ages.
Cool.
That part was actually pretty cool. Like,
I bet.
Did you ask them all to be on the podcast?
yeah, it was cool.
Podcast.
So but like, what the theater or production manager came out and said, we're sorry because of the fire code. You guys can't sit, because I was going to just watch it in the aisle, me and like 100 other people. And they're like, if you don't have a seat, you got to exit. When the premiere comes, come to the premiere, the grand opening premiere or whatever. This is the screening, or I don't know how it works.
Oh, man.
And so eventually I will go see Hegan's movie at the premiere.
And
Oh, yeah.
everyone probably can at some point,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Everyone
everyone.
in the world.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Maybe we
Hegan
could do a combat-based field trip to
That'd be
Hegan's movie.
rad.
Let's do it.
Hegan worldwide. Another day.
Another has spasm.
Cool. What else do we want to say about South Bay Jiu Jitsu? Just seems like a super cool
It was really
OG
sweaty.
location.
Can I tell you how sweaty it was in there?
They're
some
slippery
reason,
mats.
It was a
Yes.
slippery. That's all I remember. They did have a shower that kind of worked sometimes.
Yeah.
but
Most
it
of
was
the time it worked.
so sweaty in there.
The no-gi classes were basically like greased pig fights. I do remember that.
Do you know who the guy is that teaches most of the time there now?
I have no idea.
Oh, just from looking it up, there's
Do
a
they have a name?
tough looking dude. I didn't look that closely. But.
Yeah, gosh, I mean, I know it's still a place that produces good guys and tough South Bay local types train there, but because I'm 60 now and roll in my garage and travel and teach, I'm not.
And Chris
as
is,
familiar as I
remember,
should
Chris
be.
is at UACTP on Monday and Wednesday
Yeah.
nights and twice a month at SBG SoCal
Yeah.
and makes his appearances at Centerline Gym. So he's busy teaching and he rolls probably 5 times
Yeah.
a week,
I don't have an
which
extra
is
night
a lot
to-
for
yeah.
a 60-year-old. So he's not
Yeah.
going out looking for cross training. And in addition to that, he's also here available for privates and regularly teaching privates. And when he's not doing that, we need to get him camera ready so he can do some video production, which we're about to be getting into very soon.
Yes.
We're having we're entering a new endeavor. It's
Yes, we
coming.
are.
So everyone, combat-based club members and non-combat-based club members, can be looking forward to something big that's going to happen to combat base very soon. We're very excited about it.
Very excited. Yeah.
But we're not going to give you too many details, but we will give you details in the future
As it gets
once we
closer.
get it under production. But something big is happening for combat base. We're very hopeful about this.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you better keep listening to the pod to get the latest
Yeah.
updates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay on the edge of your seat because something is coming.
Something is coming.
Something. I'm not going to tell you what. It might happen on Monday or Tuesday or Saturday.
Nice.
Tell you when.
Epic. Well, I feel like we hit South Bay Jiu Jitsu pretty good. Do we have anything else cool to say about that? Rad situation. That was cool. You guys got to live through that.
Yeah.
I feel like I kind of want to go check it out now.
I kind of do too. I'm like thinking,
Check it out.
I got to go check out South Bay Jiu Jitsu. I haven't been there in ages, but
It'd be cool if Bob wanted to come talk to us on the podcast.
we could
Oh,
get
yeah.
Bob.
Hey, Bob.
I know
Come
Bob
holla.
would.
Yeah,
Pretty
he
rad.
will.
All right.
I know Bob would love to be on the podcast.
Well, in the meantime, let's hear from one of our listeners. Hit us up on the hotline.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And let's hear what this person had to say and see if we can help out. All right. We got a caller. Let me see here. We got a caller coming through here. Let me see. There we go.
Hey, I'm just curious what your thoughts are on this. I kind of want to just quit. I've been training for 7 years, and I don't know. I kind of feel like I don't want to do this anymore. Thanks.
Aw, That's sweet. I don't know. I think everybody feels like that sometimes.
Yep.
I kind of want to just quit.
Yep.
I've had that feeling sometimes, and I think it also depends on like how healthy you are,
Yep.
like physically.
Yep.
Because sometimes when your body hurts and you're like, I got to push through that one more thing,
Yep.
that you're like, oh, maybe I just shouldn't even be doing this. But ultimately, you know, a lot of people do quit.
Yeah, I mean, like the one thing I always say is like all the pressure that jujitsu is so important, jujitsu will change your life. I kind of think that's marketing, a lot of that. And we subconsciously get this like almost shame trip if you quit. And I kind of think that that's like not accurate. I think jujitsu is for people that want to do jujitsu.
That's
If you
right.
don't want to do jujitsu, you don't have to do jujitsu. There should
That's
be
right.
zero shame. Now, if you are like you do think like, you know, I have this goal, I want to get a black belt, I've been training 7 years, I'm a purple belt, I feel like my training it is like dead end. That's very common for purple belts, for seasoned purple belts to go through a phase where it feels like there's no way you could get any better. As a matter of fact, I feel like I'm getting a little worse month by month. There's this blue belt that I remember when he started, who's now giving me a hard time. That like purple belt is kind of that phase. For some people it's the brown belt, but usually purple belt, where you do start questioning what the F you're doing here. I just think that's a very normal phase.
Yeah. And so, you know, maybe the answer is to quit. It could be. And maybe the answer is to approach the training differently.
Yes.
Sometimes we just need a break.
Yes.
Sometimes we just need to take like a month off and
Yes.
evaluate and say, did I really miss that? Am I spending a lot of time doing that? Or maybe I wish I had more time to do something that I'm not doing because I'm doing jujitsu.
Yep.
Maybe I can train one less day a week and
Yep.
spend that hour doing that thing that I really wanted to do. I had a conversation with a really close friend the other day who shared with me that they have a neck injury and they're afraid that if they roll, they could go permanently paralyzed.
Jeez.
And so, I mean, my initial thought is like for myself, because I think a lot of times we compare it to what we're going through and the things that I've been going through, I feel like I want to roll differently. And that if I roll differently, could I find a way to roll safely that keeps me on the mat just a couple days a week, just to stay in it, continue, you know, to practice and get the benefits of, you know, sharpening my skills, keeping my skills sharp and there, and getting the exercise and the community, all those different, you know, aspects that I'm benefiting out of it. If I had some really gnarly injury, would I be able to find some way to still train safely, but maybe not as often or not as intensely, right? And then there's also like seeking out new mentors. So that was like something that I've been thinking about lately is like, could I find maybe another woman who's a little more experienced than me that I could study under and learn from at this point in my time? Just having a fresh perspective, I think could be really beneficial rather than just throwing in the towel. But maybe you need to throw in the towel. I don't know. I'm just saying how I'm approaching those same feelings that I have.
It's like that thing we kind of talked about it a couple podcasts ago. Like I kind of like, not like in a very meticulous way, but I asked myself how I feel when I walk in to go train. And then usually when I'm in the shower, I'm asking myself to compare the self that before that went on the mat to the self that's after. And if I feel worse, more pain, more anything, I'm not training right. I should feel invigorated when I leave, not exhausted and depleted. So now, if you're training for a competition in sport, sometimes you do want to train yourself to exhaustion, but you shouldn't feel injured. You should feel good. Like one of my lines always says, injury is always an excuse. Exhaustion is never an excuse. But now that I'm at an age, I don't want to train to the point of exhaustion anymore.
You want to be able to do something after training, not just have to go lay on the couch all day.
With
So if
ice
you
pack.
do have to lay on the couch all day after training, you're probably not training Right.
not healthy
For
Yep.
yourself and your body and
Yep.
where you're at.
Yeah. And if you really want to quit, the other thing that I always say, I just say this a thing, like maybe it was something I told myself back when I was a blue belt, is you're not allowed to quit until the day after you're promoted. So if you're a blue belt, you're allowed to quit the day after you get your purple belt. If you're a purple belt, you're not allowed to quit until the day after you're a brown belt, because then you usually won't want to quit, or you will definitely have a reason to quit. Like I did it, I got my brown belt, so I'm done with this getting rug burns all the time and always having owies, always having stinking people sweating on me. Like they're like, it's not the end of the world if you decide that jiu-jitsu is not for you.
Or maybe too, like the other thing that I was thinking about is exploring different aspects of the game or martial arts. Like, so, you know, if we're thinking about self-defense and Krista's stand-up clinch and ground, maybe spending some time doing stand-up or something like that. And just seeing, like, I know I did that when I was pregnant with my daughter. Like, I explored boxing. I explored it to mix it up and just learn some new skills. But, yeah.
Yeah, and it's always there for you.
Yeah,
right?
You can always come back.
So you can always come back. That's what I've, so we got into a little bit of I was taking my kid to judo twice a week and jiu-jitsu once a week. So he's doing 3 martial arts classes a week.
That's
he's
cool.
7. But we got to a spot where he's like, I
Doesn't
don't want
wanna
to
do it.
go. And he's kind of burning out on the judo because it's later in the evening. And so, you know, I was kind of going like, all right, like trying to say like, oh, well, let's try a couple more classes before you quit. And then I like just stopped saying quit.
Right.
And then I was like,
Take a break.
okay, let's just not go.
Yeah.
That's fine. We can not go for a bit. And then on his own, unprompted, he's been saying like, oh, I want to go back to judo in a couple months, or I want to go back in a year. Or like he did a little, he's like the star of the week at school, and he put his activities, he put judo on there. You know, so it's like, it's not like, don't tell yourself, oh, I quit, I'm done, I'm over it. Maybe just taking, like you said, adapting. I don't know. I just think it's pretty ultimate to go like, I'm going to quit completely.
Well, you
It's always
always
there. You
think,
can always come back.
like, healthfully, there's seasons in sports. That's healthy. It's healthy to cross train. A lot of jiu-jitsu people just do jiu-jitsu all the time. That's not necessarily healthy.
No.
For your body, your mind, or your spirit. It's healthy for your coach's pocket. Who you're putting the money into to pay for that storefront location. Just saying.
Yeah. It does seem like a lot. The year-round grind.
%. Like I love that line, all things in moderation, including moderation. Sometimes you got to go nuts. Sometimes you got to stop for a while. You know?
Yeah. Right on. Well, I think we nailed it today. Again, if you want to be on the show, hit the hotline. 949-791-7763. You can also email us, podcast@combatbase.com. One thing I wanted to ask you about is the mentorship opportunities. Do you guys still do that? Where someone can like
opportunities?
Yes.
Yeah, where you can do a call with people.
Oh yeah, no, we mentor people all the time.
Yes.
Sure, we are mentors. That's what we're here for. You can join the Combat Base Club and you know, come under our wing, or if you just want to set up a call just to talk, you know, you can email. I don't know what my email is now because my info@combatbase1 got messed up, but hit me up through the website, combatbase.com.
Yeah.
You're like struggling, we're not trying to poach you out of your school, wherever you're at in the Midwest or wherever. You just need like a little pep talk or to bounce some things off of that you might be struggling with, whether it's jiu-jitsu itself or jiu-jitsu culture at the place you're training, whatever. We can offer you some.
And like our for example too, with our Combat Base Club, like we have members, group members and individual members who belong to many different affiliations and organizations, and we're just happy to be just supportive to anyone who needs to and would like to interact with us in that way, and we could definitely set up a call. So yeah.
Cool. I think that's just a cool offering that you guys have.
Thank
Because
you.
a lot of people aren't accessible like that, and I feel like it's a cool
That's
thing.
true.
Yeah. All right. Like and subscribe.
How you doing, Tobin?
Come up with something really cool like to say about South Bay, or a good South Bay tale, but like,
Well, we all have targets on our backs these days.